Hey guys, Hijinks here. We're going to be ranking all 31 films in the Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and Friday the 13th franchises. This is a new kind of list and a new kind of video actually for the channel. We're going to do some more of these listing videos because I feel like they're really fun. It was cool to kind of put this all together. It did take me a while to figure out. It's a lot to kind of put together, especially with 31 films. I will try to keep this as short as I can, only putting in like little small thoughts here and there about what each film is and why it's placed and where it's placed. Let me know what your ranking is, though, in the comments down below. If you can rank all 31, that would be greatly appreciated. If you only want to rank 10, only do 10. If you only want to do 5, only do 5. Or if you want to just tell me what your favorite one is, just tell me what your favorite one is, and we can compare to see what we think. However, I did plan this to be released around the same time as LordBlueEyes' list of the same kind. He'll be doing the same 31 list. So make sure to check him out. I'll have his link to his channel in the description. However, if his video does come out before mine, which this guy is a machine, he puts videos out insanely quick. So I will not be surprised if he beats me in uploading his video. I will have a link to his video in the description down below. So make sure to send some love over to him and check out his list. And because his list is going to be, I feel like his list is going to be very different than mine. But I feel like it's going to be surprising what is in his top 10. Because I feel like as much as I have an idea what will be in his top 10, I have a feeling that I might actually be very wrong. And hopefully my list actually surprises Lord, because I feel like he has an idea of what my top 10 might be, but I think he might actually be a little bit off. I feel like some of it he might have, but I think some of it's going to surprise him. But without further ado, guys, let's hop into the video. Alright, so now we're going to hop in to our 31 list. Just to give you a brief thing of how we're grading it, is I'm looking at both how it fits into its particular continuity. As we know, in Halloween there are multiple continuities, but we are also looking at overall how the film was. We're looking at the experience that the film gives you, and does it exceed in being a horror. And so that's what we're going for. For all these, I will give a brief little discussion, but I will not dive too deep into all of them. Some of them I'll dive deep into, some of them I won't, only because this film, or these reviews and talking about these films, could go way long, and I want to make sure to get this decent length. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Please make sure to rank these down below by which ones you like, and if you haven't seen these films, make sure to watch them. I don't want to, poison the pot and make you guys think that they're bad. Watch them and have your own opinion, and let me know down below what you guys feel about these films, and maybe we can talk about our 31 list, or even just top 10s if you want to tell me your top 10. Without further ado, let's hop into this. For number 31, we have Halloween Resurrection. Halloween Resurrection was a great concept. There's a reality TV show. They're exploiting what happened with Michael Myers and using that to get a fear-fueled show on television. Michael Myers gets involved in the filming and interferes with it, starts killing people, and horror movie happens. I feel like this was a great concept, and it could have been played out pretty well, and I feel like we could have really gotten a lot out of it. However, I don't feel like we really did get a lot out of it. It was okay. It just overall was not phenomenal. There were some strong acting moments. It just wasn't scary. And maybe it's because at this point Halloween had been coming out and just being produced, but it just was not my favorite on the list. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't watch it again, because again, it's definitely watchable and I definitely could watch it. I just feel like at this point it had just kept going, and I feel like Halloween had overstayed its welcome, and this film kind of showed that it didn't do anything new. And besides the concept, which is good, I mean, it just wasn't an astounding film to watch. I didn't really have the greatest experience watching it, although I wouldn't say I had the worst either. And none of these films are really bad. I mean, these series are legendary because of how strong they are and how much they really changed the game in horror. I just feel like there could have been more, and I feel like they could have made it a little scarier. I feel like it was a little bit goofy at times. I just wasn't as into the film. But again, don't let me poison the pot. Make sure to watch it if you guys haven't. It's definitely worth watching, and it's a really interesting concept. For number 30, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street: The Final Nightmare. Now, this one, I almost made this one 31. The only reason I put Halloween Resurrection down is because I feel like A Nightmare on Elm Street The Final Nightmare, or Freddy's Dead, I feel like it did its purpose. It was supposed to be really goofy, but I also felt like it was still supposed to be a horror. I mean, I know that they were focusing on having humor in there, and so yes, there was a lot of humor in it, and that's the only reason it really jumped up the list. It's just because it succeeded in the humor portion. However, as a horror, I was not scared watching this film at all. I remember watching it when I was younger. I wasn't really scared, and watching it as an adult, I'm not really scared. And I mean, it is an okay watch, and there are some scenes that are really enjoyable. I don't want to get into spoiler territory with any of these films, so that's why we're just kind of giving very, very, very broad analysis is here, because I do not want to spoil any of these films. I want you guys to watch them if you haven't. If you have seen them, we can talk about them in a spoiler review or a spoiler discussion about them later on down the line. But there were just some, and in Final Nightmare, they show you some things that were just better off not being seen. I just felt like their focus was a little off in this film, and it could have been all right, but I just felt like there wasn't much more to add on, and they just wanted to add more in, even though they had already hit their limit, and they just started adding things in that just didn't really work well, in my opinion. Robert Englund was wonderful as always, and the cast did the best that they could. I just felt with what they had, this was a film that maybe would have been better off either not have been being made, or not had certain elements in it that I don't want to discuss because they're all plot points and I don't want to spoil the film for you. And for number 29, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Master. And I felt like this one was okay. I was not as connected with the characters in this one. I just felt like it was an okay film. It wasn't my favorite viewing, but I just felt like I wasn't as connected to everyone in this, and I don't know why I wasn't as connected to everyone in this one. This just personally was not one of my favorites, and I felt like, I mean, there were so many strong Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So maybe on some level, even though I know I said I wouldn't try to hold them and compare them to other ones, it just didn't do anything for me personally. I don't think it really changed anything, and it started getting a little bit goofier around this time. This is when it starts becoming, in my opinion, it started being less scary and more funny, and that's not bad. And Freddy does have humor elements. He's always supposed to be somewhat goofy and somewhat funny, but I feel like this is where it starts becoming a little bit less scary and more humorous, which isn't bad, but these are horror movies, and so that kind of knocks it down a few pegs for me, in my own personal opinion. And I'm sorry about that for anyone. I get it. You guys are more entitled to have your opinion, but in my personal opinion, I feel like that does kind of play a role, is that this is a horror film, and you do need to be scared. We get to Freddy vs. Jason in our number 28 spot. Freddy vs. Jason was okay. The characters, they felt very flat. I didn't really feel like there was any development. I felt no connection to these characters. I personally did not have an interest in what happened with the characters, and if there was a sequel to Freddy vs. Jason, I would not personally have any opinion on them being in it, because I really personally did not feel any connection with them. They felt like very flat. They were very, and I feel like I get it, some characters have to be flat, but you should have some level of character growth in any film. That's just in general. It's just how people are. People develop, people grow. It just felt not real, and it just wasn't my favorite when it comes to that particular aspect. Freddy was decent. Robert Englund was good. The plot was interesting. Everyone forgets that Freddy exists, so Freddy brings back Jason and uses Jason to try to get everyone to remember Freddy so that Freddy can go back to killing. It was an interesting concept. I heard that they had some other concepts that I personally found were more interesting, but it was okay. The film was okay. The fight itself was fun between Freddy and Jason. There was 2 fights in that film between them, and both were fun to watch. So that's kind of how it got up to number 28, because this one could have been knocked down the list a little bit lower, in my personal opinion. I really didn't have the greatest time watching besides the main fight between the two. But again, that's just my personal opinion. So please take it with a grain of salt. If you guys love Freddy vs. Jason, I would love to talk to you guys about it. Maybe try to change my mind. If you guys have a different view and you got something else out of the film, let me know. I would love to hear your opinions, because I like having my mind changed, because my mind has been changed. Lord Blue Eyes had a very big influence on how I'm viewing movies now. So, it can happen, and I'm all ears. And I all these movies again, they're all watchable. I would watch all these movies again, and I would have no issue watching all these movies again. I'm ranking them on which ones I personally feel are my favorites and which ones I like more than others. Which brings us to number 27, Jason Goes to Hell. Interesting concept. I, again, felt characters were flat. I felt that it wasn't necessarily scary. And some of the things that happened, I was like, all right. It was pretty decent overall. The concept was good. I got it. And how they executed it was interesting, but wasn't my favorite of the Friday the 13th franchise. There was, I feel, some better ways they could have executed this. Again, I don't want to get into spoiler territory. I want you guys to watch the film if you guys have not already. I can go through this in a spoiler review, or we can talk about this with spoilers at another time. But personally, I feel like it's okay. Some characters were interesting, some characters not so much, but I didn't really feel attached to any of the characters, in my opinion. But still, I respect it, and they put a lot into this, and the idea was interesting, and so yeah, that's why it's number 27. It was also pretty decent to watch. I didn't necessarily have the greatest time watching it. I didn't have the worst time watching it. But yeah, let's hop over to number 26. We have Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child. This one was pretty fun at times. At other times, not so much. And that's the thing. This one was like a roller coaster for me. There were some scenes I had a really good time watching, and then other scenes I was like, all right. But my problem with this one is that, again, it was getting super goofy, and I wasn't really scared. So there was these super fun times where I was kind of laughing because it was funny, but I never was really scared. And that, again, I feel like that when you have a horror movie, you should try to be scared at least a little bit. I wasn't scared at all. There's a lot of humor. But the cast did a good job. Robert Englund did an amazing job as always, and that's really what helps kind of hold it up. As I look and I see and I go, it was good, because you could tell that the cast was doing their thing, and I definitely appreciated that. I love when I see people kind of go into their role and try their best. And so that is how it got to number 26 on the list. For number 25, we have Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This one, so we're getting close to where we start getting to like the middle tiers, and this is where I start really having not too much to say either or, because this is more the ones where I'm like, I don't feel like they're lower on the list, but I don't feel like they're super high on the list. This one was interesting. This is the one where they bring in the Cult of Thorn, and that was interesting. I actually I don't know if this is true, but I felt like it made sense to have something like this because of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So that's actually kind of how it came up as high as it was, and also the acting was pretty good. It was a decent watch, and I would probably watch it again. But I like that there was some form of magic. I feel like it kind of brings back Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I feel like it kind of gives a level of respect to that film, but I might be wrong. So, but I personally feel like that, and that's how it ended up getting as high as it was, because I was like, oh, well, you know what? This might actually be paying some attention to Halloween 3, but it also might not be. So, but it was also just a fun watch in general. Donald Pleasance was good. I believe this was his last film that he was in, and he did a great job as Loomis. But let's hop on to number 24, which is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is decent, but I mean, there were some scenes I was actually scared of in this one. I didn't get too funny yet, but there was humor. But the plot, well, it's hard for me to kind of follow for a little bit. I got it. Freddy was trying to take over and take over his first body and get into the real world, but it was all right. It was not the best Nightmare on Elm Street, and it wasn't the worst, but there was definitely some horror elements in it, and that's kind of, in my opinion, what kind of brought it together and got it to be a little bit higher up on the list, as there was still horror involved in this one. There was humor in this one too, but there was still a decent amount of horror. For number 23, we have Friday the 13th, 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. And I like this one. I think it's goofy. I think it's fun. It wasn't really scary, but it still felt like a Friday the 13th movie to me, which helps it stay higher up on the list. It's weird because I'm watching this and I'm thinking this is Friday the 13th, and it feels like Friday the 13th. The characters, there were some likable characters in it, and I kind of felt connected to a few of the characters, not too many, but I felt connected to a few of them. Definitely respect a lot of the characters in this one, and it overall was a fun watch, and that's how it earned a spot as number 23. And again, don't worry guys, we will go back into reviewing these a little bit more in depth later on, but not right now, just because I want to make sure to get this all done within a decent time, so that's why I'm not taking up too much of your guys' time. Make sure to let me know what you guys think down below, and also, if you guys like this one the most, don't be afraid to let me know. I know some people really love Friday the 13th 8. I know a few people. And for number 22, we have Halloween 5. This one was pretty interesting. This one I felt like had touches of Season of the Witch, because there was psychic abilities kind of going on into this one. And this was kind of touching into the Cult of Thorn and getting all into that magical stuff, and it was a fun watch. It was pretty interesting, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it was interesting. This one is more focused around Jamie and Michael. Jamie's his niece, but that's as far as I'm going to go with anything about the thing there. Long story short, Michael Myers is trying to kill Jamie, which is not really a spoiler, it's just the plot. So it was interesting. There were some tense moments in the film. There were some moments that weren't as tense, but there were some good tense moments, and I feel like that kind of really helps get this up to be 22 on the list. Number 21 is Jason X, and Jason X is because I know a lot of people would probably have this a lot lower on their list, and I haven't seen Lord's list yet because I'm recording this before his list comes out, but I would not be surprised if he had this a lot lower on his list, because it's not scary, but I felt like this was trying to go for that meta type deal. I feel like it was trying to go the route of Scream here, and it was definitely meta, and I definitely laughed. So I put up a little bit higher, and I also just love Uber Jason, and just the characters were just so goofy, and some characters I really loved. And Uber Jason was just awesome. The idea of Uber Jason was awesome. And this movie made me realize that I wanted something that I never knew I wanted, and that was Jason in space. I never knew I wanted to see Jason Voorhees in outer space until I saw this movie, and then I realized the one thing I always wanted to see was Jason in space, and I had gotten it. So I feel like it has strongly deserved 21, because it served its purpose of being funny and also giving me something that I always wanted to see that I never knew I wanted to, and that was Jason in space. For number 20, we have Halloween H2O, and that is because Halloween H2O is pretty good. Again, there are other films that are better, which is why it's a little bit lower, but it is still a fun watch. Essentially, it is 20 years later, and Laurie Strode has a son, and Michael Myers and Laurie Strode everyone's 20 years older, and we're together in the cat and mouse chase between Laurie and Michael. And I thought that was pretty fun to watch. I was like, wow, they did a really good job with it. But that's as far as we're going to go with it. I don't want to spoil anything, but the movie was good, and they did a great job kind of keeping the Halloween feel, but 20 years later. And we have a quick add on to the list, guys, because I'm going through editing and I realized I forgot number 19. And number 19 is Friday the 13th 5. I like that they had a new killer. I like that he was trying to be Jason, so it kind of kept going, and then there was that little twist. But, yeah, I liked it, but it just wasn't my favorite. It had such strong competition on the list, and it was just overall okay. And for number 18, we have Halloween 4. And this one was pretty fun. Halloween 4, essentially, we get back into the chase of Michael Myers and his family. He is chasing Jamie in this one, his niece. I like the ending was super strong and super interesting, and I was super absorbed into the ending of this one. And I really wish they explored this more. Because the ending of this one would have been fun to see as a plot play out. But they went a different route, which wasn't bad, but it would have been fun to have seen that. And maybe they will. With them making new Halloween movies, maybe they'll explore something similar or try to redo this plot line, but with someone different. It was fun to watch. There was very tense scenes. There was a lot of tense scenes for me personally. I felt very tense watching this. It was great. I felt like they did such a great job, and the ending definitely did not disappoint. And I felt like there were so many places they could go with it, and they did such a great job making the movie feel both complete, but also keeping it complete, but with the possibility of a lot of different plot lines going forward. And I love that in a film. I love when a film can do that, and it was interesting the whole way through. For number 17, we have a Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. I like Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 because I really love the actor Rorschach. It's hard to act against Robert Englund. It's hard to play a character Robert Englund plays and do it better than him, especially when Robert Englund's been doing it forever. He does a decent job. Not better than Robert Englund, but how are you going to be better than Robert Englund? He was more scary, though. There were some jokes, and the jokes were okay. But it was more horror, and I had some moments where I got scared a little bit, but then some moments I wasn't as scared. Film overall was all right. Kills were very impressive and interesting to watch, and they definitely touched a few scenes from the original and threw them in this one, and it was interesting to watch. Overall, it was an okay film. I had a good time watching them, and honestly, this would have been lower on the list had it not been for Lord opening my eyes to better ways to watch film. And so thank you, Lord, for helping me out, because you've been doing I talk to Lord a lot, and as you guys know, LordBlueEyes, we're really good friends. So we always talk about films, and he's kind of opened my eyes more to how to watch film better, because he's really good at watching film and reviewing it, and so he's really kind of opened my eyes up to it a little bit more. So it's awesome. This would have been lower on the list had Lord not taught me, so thank you, Lord, for that. And I think that it was interesting overall. It's an interesting film overall. And for number 16, we have Friday the 13th, 2009. I'm a big fan of Jared Padalecki. He did a great job in this. It really did a good job. He did a good job, and it felt fresh. It didn't feel too out of place. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are better Friday the 13th films, but overall it was pretty good, and the acting was pretty good, and I definitely appreciated seeing Jared Padalecki in this movie here doing a good job as well. So for number 15 on our list, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This would probably have been higher on the list had there not been such strong competition ahead of it. But I feel like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is decent. It was a fun watch. And again, this is another one that, because Lord really helped me out with understanding good ways to watch film, I am able to kind of see the beauty of this film a little bit more. I've always liked it. I liked it always as a Rob Zombie film, but I never really particularly was fond of it as a Halloween film. But after seeing it, it is a good Halloween film, and it is a good Rob Zombie film. I've always liked it to a degree. I've just, in the past, hadn't really thought of it highly as a Halloween film. I thought of it more as a Rob Zombie type deal. But I like it because it's a nice, like, take on it. It is a blend of Rob Zombie and Halloween, and you know what? Rob Zombie is phenomenal what he does, and he's very good at blending that with other films and other styles. And I hadn't really seen the beauty of it until rewatching it after becoming friends with Lord and seeing, like, wow, he actually did do a really good job with this film. Some of the stuff about the psychology and the unicorn stuff, that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of. I probably could have gone without that. But I understand why it was in there, but that kind of holds it down for me a little bit because I wasn't really the biggest fan of that. But it was pretty alright. For number 14, we have Halloween 2018. Honestly, was debating about putting this under Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but 2018 was still a decent Halloween film. I felt like it was pretty good, and I used to really, really love it until I kind of, again, with talking to Lord about films and stuff, he kind of helped me see some other sides of it, and it was an okay film. I felt like some characters were a little bit much. I'm like, all right. But some characters were phenomenal, and the leads were great. But the film overall was okay. It was a fun watch, but looking at it and rewatching it, I'm like, all right, some of these characters are a little bit much, and some of these characters were like, okay, and some of the film, was maybe not as masterful as it could have been, but overall, film was good, and I do recommend it. For number 13, we have Friday the 13th, the final chapter. I like this movie a lot. It introduces Tommy Jarvis, and it was just interesting. It was fun. It was a fun watch. I don't want to get too much into spoilers again. I totally could. It was definitely a fun watch, interesting watch. There was a lot of cannon fodder, and I'm okay with cannon fodder. I just don't want to see like too much cannon fodder. So, but when you compare it to other Fridays, I mean, it's a good film. It was a fun watch, and Tommy Jarvis is such an important character, and this becomes very important to the storyline. But interesting film, fun film to watch, and yeah. For number 12, we have Friday the 13th 7, The New Blood, and this one was a fun one. I enjoyed it a lot. I felt like it was a nice little thing because it was basically Carrie versus Jason Voorhees, and it was fun to see that play out. And this also has a fire stunt, which was really impressive, done by Kane Hodder. But overall, the film was really fun, and the characters were likable, and Tina was really fun to watch and see her develop as a character. The film was a fun one, and this would be higher up on the list if there wasn't such strong competition. And for number 11, we have Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, which is great. I love this film so much. It's a great concept. Plot is basically Freddy Krueger is no longer just in movies, but is out in the real world, haunting the actors and actresses involved in the filming of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And I love that. It was really interesting, really well done, and there were a lot of horror elements to it. I felt tense, but not necessarily scared, which is why it's not higher up on the list, because this alone really could have been top 5, but it just wasn't super, super scary. There were some moments, but it was more tense than scary. For number 10, we have Halloween 2. And Halloween 2 is where they establish Michael Myers being brother of Laurie Strode. Interesting. Good Halloween movie. Definitely some horror involved. It was definitely a good Halloween. But again, as we go up the list, there's just so much good competition going up here. It was a good movie. There was just some other ones I felt really took it, But overall, the film was good, fun watch, and I had a great time with it. For number 9, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween. Lord, I know you didn't expect Rob Zombie's Halloween to be Halloween 2018, and I bet you didn't expect it to be top 10, but here it is. But Rob Zombie's Halloween is number 9. I did not have this in my top 10 until becoming friends with Lord, who I'll have his link to his channel in the description, by the way, so make sure to check him out and check out his list. But this was good. I always liked it as a Rob Zombie film. I always thought this was an excellent Rob Zombie film. I just didn't know how I felt about it as a Halloween film. The reason this is lower, because I actually consider putting it higher, is because I felt like they could have split this up into 2 movies. They could have made it a prequel, and then they could have made it the first Halloween film, because I felt like they could have, by doing that, they would have been able to work some things out and maybe have it run a little bit smoother and maybe not make it feel so jammed in. Sometimes I felt like sometimes some elements were rushed. No diss, I love it, but I felt like split in 2, this could have been stronger as a prequel and as a remake. So, yeah, much respect to it. But let me know what you guys think. I know some people are going to really disagree with that choice. Number 8, we have Friday the 13th Part 2. I like Friday the 13th Part 2 because it introduces Jason Voorhees. It also kills an important character in like the first 5 minutes. So, definitely an impressive film. Definitely caught me off guard and caught a lot of people off guard. Came out swinging for the fences and really established this series as what it was going to become, a massive series and loved by many. Number 7, I have Friday the 13th. I like it. It was fun to watch. It was a good watch. It is the beginning. However, I felt like, it's good. It's great. But there are so many strong movies as we go up this list. It doesn't compete as well as my next one, which will be number 6, A Nightmare on Elm Street, which made me feel genuinely scared. I was one of the first horrors that had me really scared at a point when I was really, really young. But I love it, and I would rewatch it, and even though it scared me, I just loved it so much I kept watching it, which is the key element of horror, is being scared but just not being able to not stop watching. And that is what this movie did. It was scary, it took me in, and I just couldn't stop watching it, and it did a wonderful job with that. Acting was great, scenes were great, there were so many things that just weren't being done that this thing did, and it was a phenomenal film. For number 5, we have Friday the 13th, 6, Jason Lives. I like it because this is Tommy Jarvis causes Jason to come back to life accidentally and now has to solve the problem of Jason going around killing people that he caused because he was paranoid of him coming back to life and accidentally brought him back in the process. Fun film. Definitely a lot of fear involved. There was some interference with the police in this one. The film was just a fun one to watch, and the characters had personalities and some of them were well-rounded. It was a great movie, a great experience, and I really love this one. Number 4, we have Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I love it because it's different. They wanted to make Halloween an anthology at one point. It didn't work well because people really wanted Michael Myers back, and thus we got Michael Myers back. But Season of the Witch was a fun watch. It was unexpected, and because it wasn't necessarily focused around Michael Myers, you just didn't know what we were getting. And it was scary. I mean, if you think about it, so many people ended up dying because of what happens. I'm not going to go in and spoil anything, but this was a good one. Season of the Witch was a nice take on the Halloween series. This was more involved with witchcraft, hence the name, but it was definitely an interesting watch, and I do highly recommend it. I feel like it doesn't get its due as much as it should. For number 3, I have Halloween. Great horror movie. I was definitely scared at the beginning of a great series, and everything was great about it, honestly. It was a great experience. Just how it played out, and when you look back and you think about it, it's just like, this was the beginning of something great, and it was great in itself, and that's how it really started. It was a strong horror. It definitely made me scared. There was a lot of tense moments. Wonderful film. However, my number 2 spot had me rewatching. I rewatched number 2, which was A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors, so many times. This is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and solid number 2. As much as I loved Halloween, I did not watch Halloween as many times as I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors, because I watched that thing on loop. I loved the concept that people had abilities. I loved that people were fighting back. But what made it more scary was no matter how hard people fought back, they didn't win. Freddy was still winning and prevailing, and it had a lot of great moments, a lot of great lines, a lot of quotable moments, and this really solidified that balance between humor and horror. And I felt like this was the pinnacle of when Freddy was both funny and scary, and it was that perfect in between where I was laughing at the humor and scared of the horror. And then, of course, our number 1 pick is Friday the 13th Part 3. This film is my favorite Friday the 13th. This is when we get the signature hockey mask. This gives us some exciting kills, and it was just an exciting film overall. This one had me scared, and it was very gruesome to watch when I was younger. And I don't think anything could take this place. I mean, a lot of it could be nostalgia speaking, but I just think as a film, this is one of my favorite ones to watch. And I know a lot of people would probably agree, and a lot of people might disagree. But I just loved Friday the 13th Part 3. But that is my 31 list, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the list. I will have the list up on the screen about this point, so you guys can tell me your list. What do you guys list your 31? What is your 31? And I will go through the comments, so please comment your opinions and your list down below, whether it be top 10 or top 31, and we can talk about it. And maybe you guys can convince me to change my list, and I can tell you if there's any edits. However, I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. Make sure to check out Lord's video. I'll have a link to his channel, and if he has his video out before mine, I'll have a link to his video in the comment down below, in the description down below. And I hope you guys had a great time watching. I have some more content coming your way, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Peace.